Yeah, thanks for joining us on a Saturday afternoon. And I also like to thank the organizers, Mano and Geeta, for putting this up. It's really good to have a platform for women to share and to connect, especially in Asia. So today I'm going to talk about how to build a trivia using PVA adaptive card and themes. So this is me. This is probably how I look like if I'm emojified in 8-bit. These are my contact details, and as you see on the right hand side, there's 2 flags there. If some of you do not know, I'm actually Malaysian, but over the last 10 years, I have been country hopping for a little bit. I've worked in Singapore, and then now I'm actually based in Melbourne. So I actually call 3 countries home, because I've been in Singapore for 5-6 years as well. So Malaysia, Singapore, and Australia is kind of really close to my heart. So before I get started, if you guys can take a few seconds to just scan this QR code and fill in the survey, because this is really important to the organizers. So I'm just going to leave you for a couple of seconds. If you have not done it, maybe 5 seconds or so, you could just scan the QR code. Okay, now let's move on to the next one. So what will you learn today? So in this half an hour, I'm trying to put in as much as possible. I know I can't go deep dive into too much details, but at the end of this, I'll share a slide on where are the resources that you can go to if you want to try it out, want to get your hands dirty and want to learn more about it. So first of all, I'll do some brief intro on PVA bot and adaptive cards. Then we'll go into how to create a bot in PVA, how to add an adaptive card into PVA, and then how to add a PVA bot to themes. So I know there's a lot here. I'm just going to touch through every one of these so that you kind of have an overview and a brief introduction of every one of these topics, and you can go back and play more about it on your own. These are the tools you need. Obviously, you need Power Virtual Agent. I've left a link there on how you can get a trial. It'll be a 30-day trial, but it's extendable. I already extended it like 3 times now, so I had it for like 90 days now. I hope I can still extend it. Next, you need Flowbot. So Flowbot, that's actually just Power Automate Flow. And then obviously you need adaptive cards. I've left a link there on how to get to adaptive card designer. And lastly, you need Microsoft Teams. So these are all the ingredients you need to get this done today. Now let's get to the demo. I'll first show you a demo on how the trivia looks like before we get into how we get it done, okay? Let me get out of here and just share my screen for a bit. So I just want to say that last night I have so much problem with PVA because it just doesn't work on me. So I'm praying that it works now. So I have my bot already added to my teams. I've added to my team itself. So you can add it individually here. Like I have another bot here, Power Bot. So this is like an individual bot. If I click on it, I'm just talking to the bot. But for Botbuster, I've added it specifically into this channel, so I can talk to him in the channel. So I say, hi bot, I'm bot. So now my bot should respond. So you can actually set trigger topics. It could be hello, it could be good morning or anything. So now bot said, do you want to play trivia? Say yes. It takes a little while. Yeah, so let's play. So we're gonna play a game of Avengers. So first question, how many original Avengers are there? I wonder how many people in the audience know this answer. I think Eliza would for one. So 6 is the answer. That is the very first Avengers movie. I think you can tell now that I'm actually a fan as well. So yeah, this is a very simple one with 2 questions. So where is Black Panther set? So if I'm dumb, I'll say Africa. Sorry, I don't mean that you're dumb. It's just that you just don't watch enough Avengers movie to know where Black Panther is from. and it should tell me, yep. So it tells me, yes, you should watch the movie again. And if I click on this link, it'll bring me to the screen where Microsoft actually sells the movie. I didn't know about this until I Googled. So apparently you can rent or buy movies from Microsoft website now. Okay, so this is what we're gonna try and build today. I hope this gets you a bit excited. So let's get to Power Virtual Agent now. So before we start, I had this site all open just to show you where you can start your trial. So if you come to powervirtualagent.microsoft.com, I'll leave the link later. Click Start Free. You can start creating your trial, and then you can create your bot. So remember to use a Microsoft account. You can't use a personal account. You can either use a Microsoft account or your work email account to do it. And once you have created a trial, you can create a bot. So I'm not going to create a bot because it's going to take about 10 minutes or so. But you can see it loading. It's really simple. It's just 3 or 4 steps. And then I've created my bot called Bot Buster. So once you have created, this is how the screen looks like. These are all the things that you can do. You can have topics, you can create entities, you can see the analytics of your bot, how many people have responded to it. Obviously, there's publish. Always remember to publish or else it will not be reflect. And then you can also add them to channels. You can create authentication and there's queues. So as you can see, there's a lot here to cover. Today, we're just going to go through a simple few steps on how to create the topic, how to add images so you can get you started. So I'll just go to topic over here. So once you started here, there's a few lessons here that you can pick up. It kind of gives you a quick overview on how to create, like how to create a simple topic, add conditions, add variables, add custom entities. So it's really easy to learn. Like I myself learned it from here without going through much tutorials. And once you've done it, you can test your bot as well. So I just quickly show you. I'm bot, and then it will trigger the same thing. It will tell you what's next. You want to play trivia, and there how it goes. Okay. So let's first start create a new topic. So to create a new topic, I just add a new topic here. And then obviously you can put in a title. This would be a new trivia. Maybe I call it trivia 2. And here is where you put in the trigger phrases. So that's the thing with the bot now, right? You always have to enter a trivia phrase for it to start. It doesn't start greeting on its own out of the box. You can do that, but you have to change some scripts. There are some tutorials that show you how to do that, like changing the logos, changing the script where the bot gonna start and say hi instead of you triggering it. So that is a separate topic altogether, but I'll just share some links as well on that one if you're interested to do that. So let's say my trigger here is howdy, and then maybe selamat pagi, which is good morning in Malay. We can also go ni hao ma. I don't know how to type Chinese, so this is the most I can get. And then we put in a description. This is trivia to play with my colleagues. Let's save this. So once you save, it'll probably show you an error, but then don't worry about it because it's just because I've not entered authoring canvas. Oh, yeah, there you go. It shows you an error because there's no flow in it. So now I go to the authoring canvas. So here is where you put in your logic. So this is a bit like playing with logical diagrams or visual and stuff like that. So what you have here out of the box, it just gives you a message, but you could add a new one here. It could be a question, it could show a message, it can call an action. So asking a question is basically asking the user and then picking up the response. So when you say ask a question, you come here, let's say, so let's start with a simple one. Do you want to play trivia? And then there are a few things, items that you can use. You can either use a multiple choice questions, which is like if you're from the Power Apps world, that is like option set or drop down kind of thing. You give a choice like A, B, C, and someone can select it. There's also user entire response, where user put in a response and you pick up the whole string. And of course, there's also this pre-built entities. So pre-built entities this is really cool because it actually picks up specific words from the sentence, depends on what entity you use. So if you put age, for example, and you ask someone, how old are you? And someone responds, I'm 9 years old. It's able to pick up 9, whether it's in number or it's in alphabet. And obviously, of course, you could create your custom entity as well. And if you create them, you can put in a synonymous. Means, for instance, if you say you have an entity for types of cars, right? And then you can have Holden, and then you can have another synonymous, which is say HLD. So if anyone responds HLD, it will pick up that is Holden. So this is like really cool. So now let's just have a quick multiple choice question, and then I just put in a few options here. So yes, no. And there is the variable. So it will save it into the variable. So you can rename the variable, because this is where you can actually, say question 1, this is where actually you pick up the answer from. And then now there's also global variable. I won't delve much into this. This is a new feature, which means you can set a global variable and can be used by all the topics inside this Power Virtual Agent. So question 1. So now what will happen if you say no? What will happen if you say yes? So this is the message that you send back to the user. Say, sorry, I can't help you. Please get back to work. Because you don't want to play anyway. And you can add emojis as well. To do that, you just go to the emoji website, copy the emoji and paste it here. I won't do it now because it might take up some time for me to get there. And the next one is if it equals to yes, I do not want other conditions, so I delete this. So if it's equals to yes, this is where I probably want to show that picture of the Avengers picture. So what I can do is I can go to Power Automate. So Power Automate plays a very important role when you build a bot in Power Virtual Agent, because there's a lot of things here that you can't do out of the box. Like you can't call SharePoint, you can't call CDS. If you want to store data or pick up data, you go through Power Automate. Same goes for if you want to show adaptive card, you want to show images, you want to show videos, you have to use Flow. If you want to learn more about Flow, go to Eliza's video. She has a lot of introduction videos over there that she can show you and teach you. It's a very good way to get started. So now, okay. Let's try to load. I already pre-created a flow as well to save time. So I have this Power Virtual Agent flow, but what you can do is you just click create a flow and it'll bring you to the flow screen. So this is the flow that I have actually built to call the pictures, to show the images. And what I've done here is I've used Markdown language to do that. So for those who do not know what's Markdown language, it's basically a simple language for you to format text, like adding bold, italic, maybe bullet points, and etc. There is also a link or you can Google Markdown language Microsoft Flow. They will tell you all the syntax that you can use. So now when you create a Flow bot, we call it Flow bot, or that's what Microsoft call it. Basically it's Flow. I'm really confused with the naming convention here, as you can tell. Eliza can probably enlighten me a bit on what to call it. But yeah, when you call it out of Power Virtual Agent, there is a specific template here. So there's the input, there's the output, and this is the initialized variable. So input is if you want to pass in a value from PVA. So let's say your bot give a response of yes, and you want it to do something based on the response, that's when you put in the input. But now I have none because my flow already do it. My flow in PVA, my bot flow already do it anyway, so I don't need any input. All I want is to call the image. So what I did here, if you see, is I have a syntax here. This is alternate text, and then followed by the URL where I store the image. So it's very important here is that where you store the image, you have to store in a public folder. If you store it in a private folder, it doesn't work. So what I've done is I've stored it in my WordPress media repository. You can do it in OneDrive and OneBox as well, provided is, or Dropbox, sorry, provided is a public folder. So this is the variable. So I have set the name of the variable. I've set the type as string because this is what I want to display or push it back to the bot. So I've put this response into Avengers. And when I go back here, I will create a message and I will enter Avengers. So what happened here is it comes into the flow. It goes into the flow, it processes, it returns back the image and it sends back to the bot and it responds to the user or the person that is you are talking to on the bot. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so that's how you enter image. Same goes for how you put in a video as well. Use the flow, use the markdown language, find the syntax that you need to display a video, and then store it in a string and display it. And then, yeah, it will actually display. So this, it always happens here. It tells you it's updated, just refresh it. Every time you make a change, for some reason, it will prompt the banner and say that your designer is updated, but don't worry about it. So now I've done this here. I'll just remove this. Let us just test this out quickly. Oops, this step. Let me see if I have everything. Okay, let's test it out. Okay, so to test it, you just come to the test board over here. It's a very good way to test your flow so that, you know, step by step, you won't kind of know, get an error when you deploy it. So selamat pagi. Click yes. And that's the image over here. So always remember to return it in a message. If not, you won't see the picture here because it's not returned back to the virtual agent. So now the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to create a question. So come here, we just add a question, ask a question. This is where we start. And then this is the first question, which is how many original Avengers are there? I can bold it. I can make it italic if I want to. And for this one, I want it to be a number. So I'll just preset and I'll use the number entity so that, and then this variable here, I can rename it as well to Q2. So this will store the answer. Okay. Just save this. Always save it from time to time because you never know when your browser will crash, speaking from experience. And then I'll add a condition because you want to pick up what they have responded and you want to do something about it, right? So now I say if Q2 equals to 6, do something. If not, do something else. So now here is where I'm going to call the adaptive cut. So before I go there, I'm just going to show you the adaptive cut designer. So how many of you have used this designer, like tried it out and such? Oh, sorry, I forgot I'm on a virtual conference. No one's going to respond to me. But if you have not, come to this site here and you can build adaptive cut. For those who don't know what is adaptive cut, it's basically you can actually build these images or cards and you can host it in different platforms. And it's actually gonna adapt to the host platform. So for example, you can even try out here, like how it will look like if I put on Microsoft Teams. So this is how it looks like. You can put it into emails. You can call it in like Outlook. There's also like Windows timeline over here, how it will look. So it's really useful. And it's very easy to build as well. Previously, you need to use the code, the JSON. You need to know how to write JSON to build it. But now with this designer, you can actually just drag and drop. So I'll just quickly show you how you can easily drag and drop for those who have not seen it. So if you come to new card, there's a lot of cards that you can use. There's also responsive card. So if you use a responsive card and you can use flow, if you use it with Teams, and then you can actually even like kind of get the response and store it back. So there's like this approval cards, airline. You can reuse this or you can build your own. So what I do is I'm just going to build one because I just want to quickly show you. So here are all the elements that you have. If you're familiar with Power Apps, it's pretty simple. Everything is just drag and drop. So if I want to put a media, I'll just add in a media over here. And then I'll put in the URL to where I store the media. Again, with this one, right, your URL have to be, your media have to be stored in a public folder. If you put it in a private folder, it doesn't work. I saw a couple of questions being asked in the forum. I'll probably do an update if someone actually addressed that, or in the future there'll be enhancement to allow private folders to be put in there. Another thing that I've seen what people does is that they put it in SharePoint public folder, and then they convert it to base64 and etc. and put it into the adaptive card. To make it easy, I just dump the images into my WordPress, and then I put the URL over here. So then you can also put text, and then you can add like columns. It's really easy to configure. Like if I want two columns, I just click here, 1 column, 2 columns, 3 columns. And then if you are more techy, you can directly come here and modify the JSON as well. So all you need to do is to copy this JSON, paste it into Power Automate flow, and then you can use it in your PVA. So some of you might wonder, right, after I build this, how do I keep this? Like there's no save button or anything. For now, you just copy this JSON, put it in your WordPad or video code, and then you just save it as a file, or you can also store it in GitHub in the templating docs. So for me, I'm not a very techy person. I just copy the JSON, put it in the notepad, I save it. If I want to reuse it, I just copy the JSON again, come back here, put it up here. So I'll just quickly show you. Like I'll just copy this. This is something that I've done previously. Just make sure that your image is still there in the folder wherever your link, because or else it wouldn't work. Yep, and there I have it. So I know that this is what I have. For this is the action button, the movie. So you can actually do a lot with the action button. You can call another card. You can open a URL. So yeah, there's a few things that you can do. So there's a lot to this adaptive card. I can talk about it for hours, but I'm also going to share with you some links on how you can learn how to do this and make use of this. So let's get back to Power Automate over here. So sorry, Power Show Agent. So much power going on. I'm going to come here to my, yeah. So now if it's correct, I'm just going to call an action again, and then here I could choose the flow that I need to. So previously, whenever you create a flow from Power Virtual Agent, you need to add that to the solution to be able to use it. Now you don't need to anymore. If you create it from here, you can use it directly. So that is a very good enhancement. So now if I select adaptive cards, I've pre-built this as well to save time. Let's just go into the flow. I'll edit this. So again, you see the similar template. You have an input, you have an output, and this is where the magic happens, yeah? So what you're going to do is you're just going to add an action, search for adaptive cards to find the action to use. So here you have a couple. One is adaptive card to user, flow bot to channel. This is if you need responses, like for example, if you're sending out a card where you want user to enter their name and to pass it back, so you use the one with response. But for what I'm doing, I'm just using the post your own adaptive card flow to a channel, to a Teams channel, because I'm not expecting a response. All I want is to post and tell the user, hey, you are either marvelous, you know your Avengers very well, or nah, you please go and watch more movies and get your knowledge refined. So I'm just going to select this one. I'll show you how I do it. Flowbot to a channel. So here you have to add your team ID. So these are actually the channels on the team here. Let's come here. So these are the team channels like the Trivia, Harry Potter, Power Platform UG. Yeah. So if I go to Trivia, and then this is just the channels. For me, in my Trivia team, I only have one channel, so general. And all you do is you go to message, take the JSON, and paste it there. And on the return, give it a parameter and just pick up the message ID. So once you do this, it actually push all this JSON into this message ID. And in Power Automate over here, you create a message. And then you just pick up your response. And that's how you push back out your message to the people in Teams. So the only thing with this one is if you use this action to call Teams, you can't test it out on your bot here. You have to test it out in Teams, because when you try and test it here, it actually tell you that there's something wrong with your flow. There might not be anything wrong with your flow. It's just that it's not supported to test out the adaptive card calling to Teams on this test bot over here. So now the last part is to add the bot to the team. So first thing you have to do is you go to manage and you go to channels. So these are all the channels you can add your bot to. As you can see here, there's a lot of it. You can even add to Facebook, Skype, Slack, Cortana, and the list goes on, and it just gets longer and longer. And you also can put it on your website, demo website as well, to test it out. So if you want to add it to Teams, just click on the Teams here to get the ID. So copy this ID, this is very important. Copy this ID and then go to Teams. On Teams, open your App Studio. This is where you add new apps to the team, right? So any app, you will have to go through App Studio. In Manifest Editor, create a new app. Put in all the details over here. Your app name, package name, version. Just remember that for your full name, you cannot use the word Microsoft. It doesn't like it. You can use any other name that you want. And then here you will have this privacy statement. So with this privacy statement, right, initially I thought that they would have some validation to make sure that it's a real privacy statement, but apparently not. So I used my own website, elaine.com, and it works anyway. So I guess it's just a validity to make sure that your app has, comply to privacy use. And here is where you put the icon. It must be 192, 32 times 32. So a very good place to build your icon is canva.com. So I use a lot of Canva, not only just for building icons, I also use it when I build my apps, when I need images. It's free. I do subscribe to it because I could make images transparent and stuff. But if you just want to build basic stuff, you can just use it for free. And once you've done that, all your app is created, you click on bot over here, and that's where you set up your bot. So when you click setup, go to existing bot. Remember the ID that you have copied. You have to paste your ID over here. And then this is the scope, right? So for this scope, if you want to do what I've done to add it to the team channel, you have to select team. If you want it just on its own, you select personal, or you can just do everything. There's no kind of any validity check on it. So once you've done that, click save. I'm not going to do it because it takes a bit of time to actually save and all the mandatory fields. And if you want to have authentication for your bot, you will add this. You can add this domain as well. You can set up the permission and AD. Again, this is another topic that we can talk about. I'll share the link on how you can do that. So that's how you add to Teams. And once you add it, you can see your app over here. This is the bot master that I've added, and that's the power bot that I've added as well. Yep. So lastly, always remember to publish. I shouldn't forget that. If you don't publish, your bot won't be reflected. Whatever changes you make won't be reflected. And after you publish, if it doesn't work, don't get panicked like me, because I got so panicked it doesn't work. I thought the whole thing just crashes or something. But it takes about like sometimes up to 15-20 minutes for it to be reflected. Another thing is with this trial, you may find that sometimes the topic you create is not reflected as well. I'm not sure why. I don't have an answer for that. I plan to ask Microsoft when I can about this. But if it doesn't work, just take one of these existing topic here and modify it. So I don't know whether it's something wrong with my trial environment because I've renewed it too many times or something. But if you can see what I've done here is I actually take lesson 1 and repurpose it as my trivia, because my test doesn't work if I try to put it in Teams. But it works here. If I do it on this test board, it works. It's just that when I publish it to Teams, it doesn't like it. So that is some of the learnings I get from here. So now let's get back to my slide. I don't want to take up too much time. So here is, if you want to learn more, so these are some of the very useful blogs that I find. One, this is by Luisa Fresi. She's also another MVP. How to use Power Virtual Agent to simplify IT and unlock user experience. I'm sorry, it's not four-letter word, Mano. But yeah, she actually shows you end-to-end how to create a bot, how to add it to Teams, how to call the values from Microsoft Office and use it in the bot as well. Secondly, we have is PVA series by Thomas Positek. I can't pronounce his name properly, but if you've not been following him and you're really interested in PVA, flow, and adaptive card, he's the guy to follow because he has a lot of series about it and he always keeps himself up to date with what's new coming out in PVA. Thirdly, there's also my YouTube channel. So I've done a create a bot in 29 days with Jess. Jess is another MVP from Philippines. If you've not followed her, look for her on LinkedIn. She's there. She's have some amazing stuff about PVA as well. So I've done what I've done here is we did an end-to-end 29 days. All these skills that you need to configure a bot, or like it runs through how to do the analytics, how to manage, how to create flow. Some of the things are a little bit outdated, I have to say, because I've done this in February. A lot has changed, but the gist is there. If you just want to hands-on, get your hands dirty and go through some of the topics, it's there. And lastly, this Microsoft PVA community. Here is where you can ask questions, get in touch with the community. If you have any ideas, you can submit it over here. So lastly, again, if you have not put in the survey, please fill this out. This is very important to the organizers so that they can have better events the next time based on your feedback. So thank you so much for your time today. And I hope you learned something in my session.